Welcome back. Week 7 of the 2023 college football is here, and we got some more good games. Now, I didn't do a recap of, like I usually do, of Week 6 games. I did a recap of the Georgia and Kentucky game, but I didn't do a recap of all the other games last week or earlier this week. I do apologize. I had a bunch of stuff going on with a buddy's wedding and work. A bunch of stuff going on. I will talk a little bit about some of the games as I go through these previews, discussing their last games here in this video. And I will make sure I do a recap of the Week 7 games this week after these games are done. So I guess it'll be next week. But nonetheless, stop all my talking. Let's get into it. First game I want to get into is Indiana at Michigan. Indiana is 2-3. Michigan is 6-0. Michigan is a 33.5 point favorite. That is an insane. That is a large spread for this game. Michigan, I feel like this is just going to be another 30-3, 32, 37-10 kind of victory. I would stay far away from that spread. Anytime you start to get into like 25 plus points for a spread, I just wouldn't put money on it. Unless you just love the team or whatever, I wouldn't put money on it. So far through some of these games, through the first 5 games of Michigan, they beat Minnesota 52-10, so they won by 42. They beat Nebraska 45-7, so they won by 38. They beat Rutgers 31-7. Bowling Green 31-6, and then UNLV 35-7. So their first 2 games out of the bat, they started off very slow, but they ended up winning by a large victory. Their last 3 games, they still started out slow, but they've been held to 35 points or less in a game, which is not bad. They still beat all these teams by basically 25 points or more each time. So, I don't know. I want to see something out of Michigan. This is the team. Indiana's 2-3. They're not a good team. It's at home. I want to see something from Michigan. Can they put a full quarter game together? We all talked about Georgia and talked shit about Georgia about not having a full 4-quarter dominant game. They proved that against Kentucky. Can Michigan do the same? They're ranked number 2. They need to start playing like the number 2 ranked team. 33.5 points, that's a lot. I would not take that. If Michigan comes out and plays the way they did the last 3 weeks, like I said, it'll be another 35-7, 32-3 type victory. I don't know. Moving on, next game, number 3, Ohio State at Purdue. Purdue is 2-4. Ohio State obviously undefeated. This is a noon kickoff, 12 o'clock game. Ohio State is a 19.5 point favorite. Like I said last week, it would be hilarious. It would be funny to get on here and point and laugh after an Ohio State loss, but I don't think they do. They should win. Ohio State should get the win and should get a convincing win. 19.5 points. It's still a lot, but honestly, Ohio State hasn't looked that good to me. They just haven't looked that impressive. So I'm curious to see how they do against this Purdue team. Like I said, it's a noon game, so kind of early. Can they wake up? Can they wake up early, get going for it? We'll see. I wouldn't take Ohio State with the points. I'm not saying they can't, but I just personally wouldn't. Syracuse at Florida, number 4 Florida, who is 5-0. Florida State is a 17.5 point favorite. Florida State's last game, they looked pretty dominant against Virginia Tech. They get out to an early, I think in the first quarter, like 15-0, 18 something around there. Hope to see that continue. Their quarterback, Travis, I think he needs to improve his numbers. So far, he's got an 84.3 QBR. He's passed for 1,193 yards, 12 touchdowns and 1 interception. I want to see those numbers get a little bit higher. Most of your quarterbacks who are about average, they're around like the 1,400 kind of mark through this point of the season. So he's about 300 yards shy of them. So I want to see those numbers get better. But I take Florida State to win this game. They should win this game if they want to be considered, if they want to be taken seriously as a college football playoff team. They should beat Syracuse at home by the 17.5. I hope this isn't a look-ahead game or a trap game for Florida State. We'll see. Hope it's not, but it is the Big Orange. I did say the Big Orange would pull an upset, not this sometime this year. Not sure against who, but I think they will. Moving right along, Arkansas 2-4 at Alabama, number 11 rated Alabama 5-1. This is also a noon kickoff, 12 o'clock game. Bama is a 20-point favorite. Now, a lot of people wrote Bama off in the beginning of the year after that loss to Texas. Alabama also just hasn't looked that great. They haven't looked like Bama. They haven't looked like their traditional Nick Saban type team. Quarterback issues out the ass. Wide receivers dropping balls after balls. The amount of penalties that this Bama team is creating is absolutely absurd. It just hasn't been Bama that we have come to know for the past 15 to 20 years. Since when did Nick Saban took over in 2007? So basically for the past 15 years, this hasn't been the Bama team that we've come to know. The last two games, Bama against Mississippi State and then Alabama on the road at Texas A&M, has looked better. In my preview prediction, I did take Texas A&M to win that game. I wasn't 100% positive, but I did take Texas A&M to win that game. Bama looked good for the most part. Now, their rushing yards their run game is a huge problem. This Bama team is still an unknown to me. Kind of like the way I felt against Georgia in the beginning of the year. This Bama team, I'm still not confident in them. I wouldn't take them to win anything. I'll take them to win against Arkansas, at home against Arkansas. They do pretty well at home except for the Texas game. I don't know if they win by 20 points. Arkansas is kind of reeling. They've had a couple losses. They're well below 500. I would stay far away from this game betting-wise. If Bama wants to be taken seriously and if they want to take that next step forward, they need to win this game, and they need to win it by 20. They need to cover the spread. They need Jalen Milroe to come out, and they need him to look good. They need to have a running game. They need to have that offensive line help to establish a running game. Can we see a running game for Alabama? That's what we need to see in this game. If not, if they squeak by Arkansas and it's another 34-17, 34-24, 28-13 type game, and Jalen Milroe's got an interception and 2 touchdowns for 300 yards, and they've got 80 yards rushing, major concerns. Even though I think Bama still has major concerns. But Bama should win this game. Hopefully. Moving right along, Massachusetts 1-6 at Penn State, who is 5-0. Penn State is a 41.5 point favorite. 41.5 points. Now, I get Massachusetts is a horrible team. They are 1-6. I don't even know who they beat this year. But holy shit, 41.5 points. That's a lot. Penn State should win. I don't know what time this game kicks off, noon. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Penn State should win. I want to see how well their offense looks. I know they had a couple weeks this year where the offense kind of looked a little bit slow. So what can they do against this Massachusetts team? Can they get up for a team as bad as this? Just see how they come out. Penn State all the way. Should improve to 6-0. Here's a game that I'm super excited for. Number 8 Oregon, undefeated number 8 Oregon at undefeated number 7 Washington. Both teams are 5-0. Washington, from what the numbers I could find through ESPN, Washington is a 3-point favorite at home. This is a 3:30 game on ABC. This is going to be a huge game. I cannot wait to see the outcome of this game. I think this game is going to come down to which quarterback plays better, and I think who has the ball the last drive. I mean, the numbers for both of these quarterbacks, Bo Nix is 131 out of 163 for an around 80% completion rating. He's got 1,459 yards on the season, and he's passed for 15 touchdowns and 1 interception through his first 5 games. Michael Penix Jr. is 133 of 178 at a 74% completion rating. He has passed for just under 2,000 yards. He's at 1,999 yards, so basically 2,000. And he's got 16 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So both of these quarterbacks are neck and neck. Both of these quarterbacks have looked fantastic this year. I am excited for this game. I expect a high-scoring game. Whatever that over is, for betting-wise, I'd take over. I mean, I am thinking of like a 58, 52, like high, both teams scoring in the 50s type of game. I think it's going to come down to the last drive. Which quarterback, one, performs better, and two, who has the ball last? That's what I think it comes down to. And also, can that defense get a stop? I cannot wait for this game. Super excited. 3:30 kickoff is 3:30 on CBS, or my bad, ABC. Cannot wait. Moving right along, unranked Texas A&M, who is 4-2 on the road at number 19 Tennessee, 4-1. Tennessee is a 3-point favorite. I don't really know what to say about this game. Texas A&M is still kind of in the race for the SEC West, even after their loss to Alabama. Now they would need to go undefeated in the rest of their play, in their conference play, and they need Alabama to lose a couple more games so they can kind of backdoor their way in. I don't see it. I also, for Tennessee, they've got the one loss already against Florida, a really bad loss in my opinion. I mean, that Florida team is not good. That they should have won that game. Tennessee should be 5-0. That loss at Florida is just unexcusable. I get it's at Florida, it's in Gainesville, but that's just an unexcusable loss. Cannot happen. I think Tennessee loses this game. I don't really have a explanation. I don't have a reason why. I just think Tennessee's fallen back to their normalcy. I mean, they had the one good year last year. Their quarterback now is just playing basically average. It's a gimmick offense, and if they go down early, I think they lose. I think Texas A&M is at 4-2 at this point. I truly do think that Jimbo Fisher understands the situation that he is in, and he knows that this is probably his last year, basically regardless. Unless he completely turns around and goes 10-2, I think Jimbo Fisher knows that this is his last year at Texas A&M. They have paid too much and put up with too much over there in Aggieville for him to continue to do the things that he's been doing. The basic 8-4 type team Texas A&M is, especially with bringing on Bobby Petrino and giving him every opportunity to kind of right the ship and get going. Jimbo Fisher hasn't. So I think Jimbo Fisher is going to fight for everything he can from here on out because he has to. If he loses this game in Tennessee, his coaching career is basically over. He is fired at Texas A&M, and I don't know who else would really pick him up. I mean, maybe someone in a non-Power 5 school or the low-ranking Power 5. I don't know, but I'm taking Texas A&M to win this game because of that reason alone, and I think Tennessee is going to fall back to normalcy, basically. Moving right along, another good game that I think people are overlooking, not because of both of the teams, but because of what it could do for one team, is number 14 Louisville, who's undefeated 6-0. They've gone through half of their regular season. They are on the road at a horrible Pittsburgh team who's 1-4. Louisville is a 7.5-point favorite. Now, Louisville is still in the ACC race. I mean, they are undefeated. They have gone through half of their schedule undefeated. They haven't lost a single game. And here's their games coming up for the rest of this. Is why I think this is a huge game. Because if Louisville can win on the road, here's their next 5 games. They are at home against Duke, who is 4-1. That's a tough game, which I can see them losing. They're also at home against a horrible Virginia Tech game, Virginia Tech is 2-4. They are also again they've got 3 straight home games. Virginia 2-4. Then they are back on the road at Miami, who's 4-1, who I can see them losing that game. Louisville losing on the road at Miami. And then they are back home for the annual rivalry against Kentucky, who's 5-1. Now, Kentucky has nothing to do with their ACC championship or chance, even if they lose that game 100-0. That doesn't count against them in the ACC. So, technically, obviously, Louisville is still in it. If they get through this game, now I still see a couple of losses on their schedule coming up, but, I mean, watch out. Louisville is a team to keep an eye on. I mean, if we get down to that Miami game and Louisville is, let's see, 9-1, that could be a huge game. I mean, Plummer, is that how you say his name? Plummer. They need him to perform a little bit better if they want to get that. He's 103 out of 156, 66% completion percentage. That's really bad. He has passed for basically 1,500 yards, 1,551 yards, and he's got 12 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. 6 interceptions is absolutely ridiculous. They cannot continue to win with that type of turnover rate by their quarterback. But nonetheless, I think that is still a good game. I'm very curious to see what Louisville can do and do moving forward through the rest of the season. Moving right along, let's try and speed this up. Auburn 3-2 at number 22 LSU, who is 4-2. LSU finds themselves just barely ranked. LSU is 11-point favorite. I predicted LSU to win big against Missouri last week. I expected that. I said if you gave me they won by 10. They won 49-39 against Missouri, on the road against Missouri. I said if you give me a 14-point line, I'm taking LSU still. They did not play the way I expected. They got out to a horrible start. That first quarter of the LSU-Missouri game, even first half, was horrible if you're an LSU fan. They kind of calmed down, they figure things out, they adjusted, and they come back to win. They beat Missouri 49-39, so they had a 10-point win on the road, but just inexcusable play by LSU in that first half. I am taking LSU to win. I think they are still understand they still have the SEC championship ahead of them. Now, they do need a little bit of help. They need to win out, so they still need to beat Bama, and they will need Bama to win, or my bad, they will need Bama to lose another SEC game, but they are still in it. That's just a bad loss early in the season, that 55-49 loss. Was it? Yeah, 55-49 loss against Ole Miss. You can't do that. You can't have that loss. Lose that game. But I'm taking LSU. I'll take LSU to cover. I think Auburn, under their first-year head coach, Hugh Freeze, I think Hugh Freeze will get a lot out of them. But I think LSU understands that they still have a chance to fight for that SEC championship. So give me the Tigers at home. Another big game coming up. Number 10 USC, who's undefeated on the road at Notre Dame. Number 21 Notre Dame, who is 5-2. Notre Dame is a 3-point favorite, depending on where you look. I'm not betting on this game. Can't wait to watch this game. But betting wise, I would stay very far away from this game. USC has horrible defense. And I don't understand how USC fans and that the athletic director and the people that make decisions at USC are okay with the Lincoln Riley's decisions when it comes to defense. I mean, enough has to be enough for USC. They are going to waste away Caleb Williams' talents to get them where USC wants to do, basically win a national championship. They're going to throw all that away because Lincoln Riley can't get his fucking head on straight and play defense. I said it last time. He closes his eye. When USC's defense is on the field, Lincoln Riley closes his eyes and he looks the other fucking way like it's not even there. Like defense isn't even a thing. I wrote down the points that he gave up in some of the games for USC. He gave up 41 points to Colorado, 41 points to Arizona. Arizona is 1-5. And then he gave up 28 points to San Jose State. Absolutely horrible. USC has to get their defense figured out if they want to do anything when it comes to postseason, winning any kind of conference championship, winning any playoff game, or even being considered for the national championship. They've had a couple close losses. So would that give me Notre Dame. I think their comeback wins and their horrible play on defense finally catches up to them. I think USC catches their first loss on the road at Notre Dame, bringing them to 6-1, giving Notre Dame 6-2 on the season. I don't think USC can keep up with that horrible defense. I think they catch it out on the road. Moving right along, Miami. What the hell, Miami? They're on the road at North Carolina. North Carolina's undefeated, 5-0. North Carolina is a 3.5-point favorite. But can we talk about what happened last week? I know we've all seen it. You had Georgia Tech beat. With 30 seconds left, and all you had to do was take an L. That has got to be the worst, stupidest coaching decision of the last, I'm 27 years old, about to be 28, since I can fucking remember. How do you do that? That is inexcusable. I feel bad for those players on Miami. Mario Cristobal needs to be fired. That is a fireable offense. And he did the same thing at Oregon. All you had to do was nail the ball. That's all you had to do was nail the ball. And you win the game. And then you come out and you completely shit the bed on defense and give up 75 yards in 30 seconds. How? That one game, I would immediately fire him, Mario Cristobal. Inexcusable, laughing stock of college football. I'm going to make a video on that game alone, but because I want to move on. But that game, that was a joke. Give me UNC just because of that. I think Miami falls to 4-2. Fuck Mario Cristobal, and I do feel bad for those players. I mean, that fucking sucked. Especially that individual that fumbled the ball. I mean, shouldn't even have been running the ball in the first place. Moving right along, NC State 4-2 at number 17 Duke 4-1. Duke is a 2.5-point favorite. Duke's only loss on the season is their first game against Notre Dame, 21-14. They lost that game. They've looked better since. Give me Duke to win and to cover 2.5, 3 points. Missouri 5-1 on the road at Kentucky, who's 5-1. Kentucky just lost. Horrible loss against Georgia. They lost 51-13. Go Dogs. Fuck Kentucky. Can Kentucky bounce back after a devastating loss? They're back home against what seems to be a good Mizzou team, even though I think they're still a little bit overrated. I think this game can decide the SEC East second best team. I think Georgia takes the SEC East easily, but I think this will basically be deciding the East. I think Tennessee will catch another few L's. Florida is a joke. Vandy has lost multiple games. So I think it's basically between Kentucky and Mizzou who can keep second. Who wins? I think this game decides. Give me I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to go with my first initial gut feeling and take Kentucky. I think they bounce back. I just don't think Mizzou is a good team. I think that their first game against a good opponent, LSU, they got showed up. I think they came out really hot. And then it was their game to lose, and they lost it. I mean, they were up on LSU. I don't even know how much they were winning by at one point, but by multiple scores, and they just choked that game away. And if you go back and look at their first 4 games of the season, they haven't played anyone. So I don't think Missouri is a good team, and I think they catch an L on the road against Kentucky. I think Kentucky bounces back, and I think they are fighting with a chip on the shoulder this week. So give me Kentucky, the Wildcats. Last game let's get into is the Florida Gators, who is 4-2 on the road against South Carolina, who is 2-3. South Carolina is a 2-point favorite. South Carolina is the victim of, they are always better than what the record says because they play a brutal schedule. South Carolina's losses on this season is against Tennessee, 41-20. They kept it close with Georgia, but lost 24-14. And they lost their first game of the season against North Carolina, 31-17. I think it just falls down to Spencer Rattler can have a good game. If Spencer Rattler can have a good game, South Carolina wins. So far, he's 119 for 163 with a 73% completion average. He's passed for 1,411 yards, and he's thrown 7 touchdowns with 3 interceptions. If Spencer Rattler can basically not put South Carolina in a bad position, I think South Carolina wins this game. I just don't think Florida has the horses to keep up with South Carolina. And I don't think South Carolina is afraid of Florida anymore. So with it being at home, like I said, if Spencer Rattler can come out and play just a decent game, a good game, not turn the ball over, I think South Carolina wins. So give me South Carolina to win, beat the Gators. They cover the 2 points. With all that being said, that is my preview and prediction for the Week 7 games. I already did a Georgia preview and prediction, a Georgia Vandy preview and prediction. So if you want to watch that, go check that out. But other than that, over and out.